Sellers, and I'm the Family and Community Health Sciences Educator, Assistant Professor with Rutgers Cooperative Extension of Cape May County. With me today is Annalise Kimmerly, and she is brand new to Family and Community Health Sciences here in Cape May County, and we're thrilled to have her. And she is our new Program Associate and Educator as well. She's going to be helping me out a little bit behind the scenes today, letting people in, answering questions. So if you have any questions, you can go ahead and put that in the chat for her. Today's presentation is the 8 dimensions of wellness, and we're going to be focusing on social wellness today. Just a few little housekeeping things before we get started. A quick review of Cooperative Extension. We are structured with those that are not familiar with it, we're structured as a partnership. Rutgers Cooperative Extension is a partnership between the County Board of Chosen Commissioners, Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, and USDA's National Institute of Food and Agriculture. And we have 3 departments, and we have throughout the state of New Jersey, we have faculty or staff in 20 of the 21 counties. The 3 departments include my department, which is Family and Community Health Sciences. And then we also have 4-H, which a lot of folks are familiar with. And then we have A&R, which is Agriculture and Natural Resources. Here in Family and Community Health Sciences, we focus in on topics related to nutrition, chronic disease prevention, food safety, and overall wellness. And we have a website for Cape May County and a Facebook page. So we hope you'll follow us and check out our other resources, because we have a lot of free resources available to you. Okay, and of course, Rutgers Cooperative Extension is an affirmative action, equal opportunity employer. All right, right now I am going to release a poll. Let me see where that is. But while I do that, I'm also going to talk a little bit about some of the goodies that we have to offer you today. So I am going to definitely correct one. Oh, I did not. Uh-oh, I let the wrong one in. Don't take that one yet. All right, so let's, oh dear. Technology, not fun. I apologize, folks. Yeah, it's not going. Okay, the poll is already launched. So there should be a poll release that asks you to identify your race for the first question. So if you all could take that while I talk, I would appreciate it. We need to let the university know who we're reaching in the community. As a way of what we're doing here today, part of this class, we're offering free Fitbits. You have to take a survey. So take the survey. I'm going to send that survey out post-class. I'm going to tell you it's probably not going to come till next week. And so we'll send that out. We'll send a recording out if you want to share it with anybody. I'm going to use a keyword today somewhere in the webinar that you have to find, and you can put that in the questionnaire, the survey that I send out to you when I send it. And then we're going to put people into a drawing, and you can win one of the free 15, we're going to give away 15 Fitbits. So you're entered to win one of those Fitbits. If you enter, there's 10 in this series. If you enter 10 times, you have 10 chances. So just listen for that word and then take the survey at the end. Now, if you haven't taken the survey yet, but you've watched others in the presentation series, this is the 9th of 10, then you're welcome to go back and take that. It's the same survey. You just have to have the correct entry to, for the word to be in there again. And if you missed any of the series and you want to go back and watch them, then they are on our YouTube page, and I'll send you the link to that when I send out the follow-up email with the survey in it. So you can go back and watch recorded ones. See what else we have here. Okay, yay. So again, today we are going to be talking about.
I didn't get the poll, I'm sorry.
Somebody didn't get the poll.
A few of us have posted.
Yeah, I think I might have messed it up. Hold on, let me see if
Yeah, just poll 2 showed up and you told us not to take that one.
Yeah, thank you. Let's go back. Ooh. Yeah, for some reason now, all right, it's not letting me launch it. Oh my. Okay. Yeah, here we go. Now you should have it. Let me know if you do. So that should have launched that one. Sorry about that,
I
John.
got it.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you. All right. So let's talk about social wellness. So our objectives for today is we're going to identify the dimensions of wellness. We're going to define social wellness, and we're going to recognize the importance of social wellness, which I think we all have a pretty good hint of after what we've been through in the last 4 years. And then we're going to explore ways to achieve, maintain, or improve your social wellness, and really try to get an understanding of how social wellness affects and is affected by the other dimensions of wellness, because they're all very interrelated. This is a survey. If you take out your smartphone, open your camera, hold it up to the screen here and click on it, it will take you to an evaluation. Even if you answer the first 2 questions, I'm very appreciative. Gives an evaluation of my teaching in the program, and it's very important for my work here, and I appreciate it. I'm going to put that up at the end if you don't get it right now too. All right, so currently, you hear a lot about wellness. My husband was just telling, or my mother just said to me, oh, I saw somebody's having this wellness presentation. And it's a huge industry right now. It's a really big, hot topic. And it's a $4 trillion business a year. So it's a big industry, and people have latched onto this idea of wellness. But, does anybody really know what it means exactly? And if you go on the internet and you search wellness, you'll probably get things like spas will pop up, or yoga classes, or people meditating, maybe even an ad for an essential oil or something like that, or a wellness coach or something. And these things, maybe they contribute to our overall wellness, but it's kind of an undefined topic area or idea, and people are always looking to achieve it. So what exactly is wellness? To understand wellness, it turns out that it's not that broad of a concept. We have the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, or SAMHSA, who created a definition for wellness. And it's a holistic model. It doesn't have to cost you money. I always like to say that. You're in charge of your own wellness. I know some people think that it's something they can purchase. I've seen advertisements that, you can achieve it by buying different things like cars and, soaps or whatever. But it's really the functioning of several different concepts, and these concepts are brought together to create a sense of balance. So we're going to talk about those today, as we have in the past. And again, it turns out that wellness can be defined. SAMHSA has defined it. I think they did a really good job of defining it. And what they say is that it's not the absence of disease, illness, and stress, but it has a positive presence and purpose in life. It creates that feeling of fulfillment. It includes satisfying work and play, joyful relationships, which we're going to talk about today, a healthy body and living environment, and happiness. So in these things, things that I want to point out from this definition specifically are that it's not just the absence of disease. A lot of times when we first started teaching this curriculum, Jen Shkaitis and I, who wrote it with me, we asked people, what is your definition of wellness, or what do you perceive to be wellness? And we would get answers like emotional health or physical health. But it is, not the absence. Again, wellness is not the absence of disease and illness and stress, but it's the presence of positive things and purpose in life that are satisfying for you. So think about those as we go through. As you can see, we have the 8 dimensions up here right now. They include social, which we're talking about today, emotional, physical, intellectual, environmental, occupational, spiritual, and financial wellness. All right, and I just want to make a note. I'm putting up the definitions for all the different dimensions right now. They are not in any particular order. They are actually, they're in alphabetical order. So we're not saying that social wellness is number 7 of importance. That's not at all what we're saying. We're saying that social wellness is equally as important as emotional wellness, that it is at the top. We had the picture up. I'll put it back up in a minute. It's very circular and cyclical. So one can disbalance the other, and we want to try to keep them all in balance where possible. Social wellness, as you can see here, is developing a sense of connection and belonging and having a good support system. Note here, I said good support system. And remember back to the definition I just gave you of wellness, we use the word positive in there. So good, positive, fulfilling. They're all the things that we want to think about as we're thinking about positive relationships and positive social wellness. So again, according to SAMHSA, the social wellness dimension involves having healthy relationships with friends and family and the community, and having an interest in and concern for the needs of others and humankind. So it's not just, yourself. It's not just being social yourself, but an interest overall. You may be wondering why I've chosen to focus on today's presentation on social wellness and aspects of social wellness, but there's many reasons. And I think that, like I said in the beginning, we all have a sense now after COVID-19, the pandemic, what that really meant to us. I've always been a social person, but was really, really obvious the effects that lack of socialization had on so many of us. And we're hearing every day about, the effects it's had on children, senior citizens, but across the board, it really had a big impact. And I think it changed the way some people were living life, for sure, but it's been hard to get back into some of those routines. So if you're one of those folks that's had a hard time getting back into that social routine, maybe you're feeling not so well with your socialization, and then think about some of the concepts we're going to introduce today and how you might integrate them. Because, even the most introverted person among us probably felt the effects at the height of the pandemic about, being isolated. And studies have started to show that prolonged social prolonged social isolation has really had a negative effect on our health and wellness, on all aspects of it. And as we talk about social wellness, think about how social wellness overlaps with a lot of the other dimensions of wellness. So for instance, to be social, you need to be in good physical health so that you can get out and interact with others, right? And likewise, your emotional health requires good supportive relationships for social interaction. And this is true over and over again that we see throughout the 8 components and how they interact with one another to create a good flow to achieve balance that we're talking about during this presentation today. I say this in all of the presentations, and I'm going to say it here again today. But as we talk about social wellness, really try to think about, taking small steps. If you've been in on all 9 of the presentations, thank you so much for being here. And think about how I've said take small steps. So if you were in, for instance, in the physical dimension of wellness, I said make sure that you're not going out and trying to run a marathon. If you haven't exercised for a really long time, that would be an example of a small step. So we want to make sure that we are feeling satisfied with social wellness. We want to look at the ways it overlaps again, but we want to do small things a little bit at a time. If you're feeling still very isolated, or you just are feeling isolated overall and you feel like you're not getting a lot of socialization, it's good to put yourself out there, but don't go out and make yourself overwhelmed because you're out socializing every night of the week, maybe if you're just starting back out again. So take it slow and see how it interacts with those other dimensions of wellness, how it's making you feel. Pace yourself, take small steps, and then think about, again, like how is that interacting with other aspects of my wellness, my other dimensions. So for instance, if you become more socially well, maybe that's helping to support your intellectual wellness because you're getting out and doing something that supports your intellectual wellness. So think about those type of things as we have the conversation. And then when we move away from this presentation, how those things are impacting you and how you're feeling. It's good to have that check-in with yourself. So SAMHSA has 3 areas within the dimension of social wellness that we'll look at in detail today to really discover the benefits they offer to our overall wellness. The three areas that they identify at SAMHSA are community, new people, social time. So let's take a little bit closer look at this now. All right, so now that we know the 3 areas of social wellness, let's look at ways that they can be positive in our lives. And the key word is friend today. So when you're entering into the survey, you want to write the word friend into the survey. All right, number 1 is community. And this is interesting because community, this can go 2 ways. It can mean the overall community, or it can mean, your community, your social community. And that's kind of how I'm talking about it today, in both ways to a degree. So much like the other dimensions of wellness, establishing values that align with your personal values will assist with social relationships. Establish how you're involved in various social activities and interact with others. So that's really important to create that good wellness balance. So think about how that interaction, the social activity you're engaging in, and then also how that's interacting with others. You want to, again, positive relationships, good relationships, healthy relationships. Personal relationships are really important. And if they're negative and they're bringing us down, then you need to work on that relationship, or you really need to try to find a way to have some interaction that mitigates the negativeness of it, because we always want to try to promote positiveness for our wellness. Personal relationships are important, and creating a community for socialization is important too. So if you find yourself struggling in certain areas, then maybe you want to, seek a support group. Like, for instance, if you're in mourning, you find yourself, you have a loss of some sort. It might be a pet, it could be a friend, a loved one, or if you have a new diagnosis of a chronic disease for yourself or a loved one, finding support in a group within your community is really going to help to make your social wellness better. It's going to improve it. It's going to support it. So a social community where you feel supported. So think about that in terms of a support group, but then think about other relationships you have and how they support you. Again, very interactive and cyclical. You want to think about how things are supporting you. So get out in the community, do things that support you. If you need to have a support group, that's great. And that support group might come in the way of just friends. It might be going out and playing a game with friends once a week or something like that. That could be your support group, but find a group that is supportive, makes you feel good, is positive, and good for you. Okay. And then, having that support group could really help you to avoid that isolation that we talked a little bit about before. So keep thinking about how, the support or the groups that you're involved with are supporting your social wellness through, getting you out there and doing things. Religious affiliations may be another, or spiritual affiliations may be another good way to find support, and they could help to bolster that spiritual dimension of wellness too. And family can also be a great way to socialize. Try to make things to do with your family, catch up and talk about good times. If things are strained, with relationships with family, because, the good times bring out the best of all of us, and we can laugh and think about positive things. That's going to help to create socialization with family. And I know, there's nothing like a good laugh, laughing about a silly uncle or somebody that did something funny or something like that. Once in a while, I'll just text. I started group text for my cousins and we're all adults, but I'll share something funny that happened that reminds me of my grandfather. And then everybody just starts chiming in, and we have these funny comments, and it's, we're not seeing each other face to face, but we're having social interaction, and it's a positive interaction. So, just things like that sometimes can spur good memories, good thoughts, and just make us feel good overall. So it's important to find those ways to make social interaction for our wellness. New people. So sometimes we find ourselves in it, maybe we live in a new area or we're working with a new group of people and we have to put ourselves out there. And that's really hard, getting out there and meeting new people. Sometimes we get in our comfort zone and sometimes it's just a little bit easier to sit on the sofa alone than it is to get out there and socialize. But getting out and meeting people with similar interests are really going to help you to be more in tune with socializing. So find people with similar interests. If you're new in the area and you just want to be more social, then maybe look in a local newspaper or magazine. At the library, sometimes they have postings. Look online for groups that may interest you so you can find things to do. The local library system, again, great resource. They have all kinds of classes and things to do, as do the community colleges. So you can try to find new things to do there and fun things to do. I know when we've moved to new areas, I always make it a point to try something new that's out of my comfort zone. And also, that helps to introduce me to new people. So one time we moved, I tried scrapbooking. I had never done that before. And I'm still, 20 years later, friends with those folks. And one time I tried rowing crew, which I had never done before either, which was both very, very challenging for me, but inspiring because I did get to know a lot of new people in that area too. So think about ways that maybe take you outside of your comfort zone so that you meet new people with similar interests or maybe new interests. New social relationships might open up new interests to you as well and encourage your social wellness. And a lot of times what I found by joining those groups with things that I didn't know how to do that were new to me, I then had interactions with folks and was able to, get to be friendlier with them outside of that activity. So it's a good opportunity. Again, look into that spiritual community or maybe see a neighbor at the same time. Look in the spiritual community for maybe things that you enjoy doing that might provide social interaction. Or maybe you see a neighbor, you look out the door at the same time every day and they're out walking their dog at the same time after work or something. Maybe just spark up a conversation and say, hey, do you mind if I walk along with you and your dog? And, you can just have a little conversation. Maybe that's a good way to get that interaction and just have a little social time that's convenient for you and you're getting to meet new people. And maybe you get a new walking buddy out of the deal, right? And then the final thing is on the list here is volunteerism. And, volunteerism is really, it's about giving back to the community, but you get so much more than you give, I always feel like, the volunteer opportunities that I've been involved with, from coaching to working in the food lines at the food bank, they give me a sense of fulfillment, but they also allow me to socialize with folks that have like interests or want to give back as well. So again, there are those positive, good relationships. Sometimes you move on and you continue the relationship, but sometimes it's just nice to have a conversation with somebody that's a little bit different than your normal routine. So volunteerism is a good way to spur social interaction, both during volunteerism and afterwards, potentially. All right, social time is the next area. So do you set time aside to spend with family and friends that's quality time? Ask yourself that. Sometimes we're socializing with people, but we're on our phones. So everybody's at the table and they're on their phone or, working or computer or whatever. But quality time together where you're having some type of interaction together is really important in our lives. It's a very important aspect of our lives. So try to make sure to spend quality time, with family, friends, people you love. Think about all the sad songs there are out there that talk about not having enough time to do what we want with loved ones, right? They're out there for a reason because we don't do it. So we need to get out there and do that. So try to set that time aside to do that. Keep track of when you need to catch up with someone, whether that's a family member or maybe a friend from high school or grade school or college, or a friend you've met in adulthood. Find time to catch up with those folks. Write it down. Are you time for a visit? I know there's people that we keep in touch with from when we were younger, and once in a while I'll say to my husband, hey, we haven't seen so-and-so in a while. Let's try to get together with them. So, it's good to have those interactions and try to catch up with people. Make sure to visit people who you miss. If you miss them, that means it's time for a visit. Think about how a positive relationship makes you feel and kind of carry that with you to motivate you to stay in touch and reach out to that person and be social. And, time is, I just said yesterday, I was walking down the door, I'm like, I need 4 more days in the week. Time is too little and it's too hard to come by, but socializing is really important to our overall wellness. In fact, doctors are even starting to prescribe socialization now to seniors. So when they go into, sometimes they'll go into the doctor for a checkup and they'll say, hey, how's your socialization? Who are you hanging out with? What are you doing? And they have a little discussion with them about it. And they found that if they prescribe socialization, like they're telling people you need to be more social, then they get out there and do that. And that really helps for, many things to motivate them and be well. You want to organize a calendar of events, maybe if you like to connect with people from high school to go to a concert, then, you say, oh, so-and-so's coming, let's all get tickets and go together. So like kind of organize what you want to do throughout the year so that you stay on top of it and it doesn't get away from you, because it's really easy to say, oh, I was going to call so-and-so today. I was going to call. And then, 3 months later, you haven't called and you're like, oh, I never called. So, try to keep track of who you're keeping in touch with, stay organized, make a date with family or friends, go to a park or go grab a cup of coffee or do something that you like for entertainment. I feel like there's one slide that I missed here. So I'm sorry, I'm going to go back. Where did that go? It was an important slide. Here we go. Yeah. So I don't think I talked about when we had this slide up about the social isolation, and some of the points on here. I did mention that, we all are feeling it, but I did want to mention that, prolonged social isolation can be negative. And remember, we're looking at things being positive here, but they're starting to find that the equivalent of smoking, being unsocial is the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And they also have found that it can shorten your lifespan by 15 years. So again, not only is socialization really important for how we feel and how our wellness is, but it can impact our physical wellness, not getting out there. If you're sitting in the house all day and you're not being really socially well, then that can cause your physical wellness, your emotional wellness, so many things to be impacted. So I'm sorry, I thought of, as I was going through, I'm like, that was in one of my slides and I didn't mention it. So I wanted to go back and talk about that. So like I said, from the beginning, each wellness dimension can affect the next one in both positive and negative ways. We want to have it impact it in a positive way. We want to review the other dimensions that are impacted or can impact our social wellness. So remember, getting out there and being social, it can impact all the other 7 dimensions of wellness. If we find ourselves occupationally like working all the time, work, and we're not getting out there and socializing, then that can impact our work too, because we might be thinking we're getting a lot done at work and we're being really efficient, but it might affect how we're working and the quality of our work, because we haven't had any letdown time to be social. So think about how social wellness could even impact your occupational wellness. We talked about how it would impact your physical wellness. You don't get out and you're kind of sitting at home. That can impact your physical wellness, your emotional wellness, because we're not having that interaction that our bodies crave as human beings. It can impact our intellectual wellness because we're not being inspired. So there's many ways that these can overlap. And as you go through the day and you think about, oh, I'm really physically well, I'm feeling very good physically. How are you feeling socially? Like, ask yourself about these 8 dimensions, how they're interacting and how they're overlapping. And if you feel great, hey, if you're a social butterfly and you're out there doing wonderful, kudos to you, awesome. But try to find where maybe other spaces are not so well and use the good things you have going on in social wellness to impact those other dimensions of wellness. Okay, so really, again, just to have you please open your phones and give me a little feedback on, at least the first 2 questions in the survey would be very, very helpful. And while you're doing that, I'm gonna try, oops, sorry about that. I'm gonna try to release this poll and see if I can get. I'm gonna end that one. I'm gonna see if I can get this poll to go. All right, so poll number 2 should be up there now if you would take a minute to answer that. All right. So just to sum up a minute here, again, social wellness, we're talking about community, that community of people that support us, that community of people that are positive, that we have beneficial relationships with, and that, kind of interact with one another throughout. The new people, look at where you can meet new people. You're liable to learn something really cool and new and exciting by introducing yourself to new people. But I think it's really important too to keep those relationships that you've had for a really long time and foster them and build on them if there's something that are good and positive. And then also our social time. We want to make sure we have that time to socialize. So sometimes we got to cut it out and in our schedule and make it happen. But even if, if you're a really busy parent, for example, and you're at your child is involved in an activity like theater or the church group or a sport or some type of activity, try to find those parents that are there while you're there and have interaction with them because that can help to bolster your interactions. And I know we have baseball and soccer parents from when my kids played that we are still friends with, and we had many, many, many good times with them on the sidelines. So, find those people that are positive, that make you feel like you're in a positive relationship. And as you've seen throughout this discussion, within each of the areas, in each of these 3 themes here, there's themes like community and kindness and positive relationships. Make sure to find those things to help socialize your social wellness throughout your day. Okay, one more time. I'm going to send out the survey, and at the end of the survey, there would be a question. I gave you the word within this discussion that you can go back and watch if you missed it. And fill that out, please. We don't have a huge number of people that have filled it out, so your chances are great if you go and complete it for all 10 of these conversations or webinars. The last one is going to be next month, and that's going to be on October 17th. And we're going to wrap this all up and put it in a nice little bow and talk about how the 8 dimensions overall are beneficial and how they interact. So you can join us for that on October 17th. And we'll send out the registration for that when we send out the email, and it'll also be advertised, of course, on our Facebook and website pages. And then these are our